We are live. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
To the live show. We will, give everyone a chance to come, we can go around and introduce ourselves. You guys are all on my channel, so hopefully you know who I am, unless you've come here for some of the other people. We can go around and introduce ourselves. You guys are all on my channel, so hopefully you know who I am, unless you've come here. Okay. Okay. So I'm Jessica from Peace Love Books. You can call me Jessica, I don't care. Mina.
I'm Mina. My channel is Mina Reads, and yeah.
I'm Ashley. My channel name is Bookish Rome.
I'm Olivia. Mine's Olivia Reads a Latte.
I'm Riley, and my channel is Riley Marie.
Everyone's should be linked down below. I'm pretty sure I linked you all down below. Only Riley's been on here before, so everybody else is a new face. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited for today's live show. I wanted to do it because I've been frustrated with my own content lately and like the views and the not views, and like I wanted to chat about what gets views, what doesn't, how we stay creative, what people want from us, because that's always nice to know what we think people want. So I do have some questions prepared, but if anybody has questions they want to discuss, go ahead and put those in the comments. I see we have a lot of people here, friends that are here to say hi. Kayla's here.
Let me turn on my light really quick.
Lots of friends. Okay. We can start with my first question. What videos do you guys enjoy making?
I could go first. Okay. I think my favorite videos to make are vlogs, just because I really like editing vlogs more than anything. So I would say that that's like my favorite type of content to make.
Yeah, same. Vlogs are my favorite. I think because this might be controversial, but my favorite part of making videos is the editing. So I have more fun editing vlogs than when I'm just sitting there for like 40 minutes talking.
Yeah, I like vlogs because, well, I'm not creative enough for themed vlogs, which I feel like we have a lot of people on here that are so good at that. I like the mundane, just weekly ones because I have bad memory. So it's kind of like memory keeping in video format. But also I can experiment with editing more because I'm trying to force myself to like it. Not working, but I'm trying.
I hate editing, so I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. It is the least favorite part of the process. I hate editing vlogs. Vlogs are not my favorite thing to do. So once again, they're the minority. I think discussion videos are probably my favorite thing to do. Hands down. I guess because I feel like I get to give kind of my insight on different topics, and I like discussions that come out of having like discussion videos like that. So, and they're the easiest to edit.
Your discussion videos are so good though. I feel like I could never put into words what I'm thinking, but you did so well. I was like, yes, like your Dr. Seuss video was so good. But I'm like, I just probably say people are being dumb and then like stop it. I wouldn't know how to explain it.
I have a little bit, so it helps too, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, to some degree, a lot of the stuff that I kind of covered in discussion videos is stuff that I do at my job to some capacity. So it kind of helps when those discussions are already happening on a day-to-day basis for me. So it does. I always get nervous though, because I don't script my videos either. So what you get is literally like whatever comes out of my mouth, and then I edit to the best of my ability. But yeah.
Does anybody script their videos that's in here?
I ramble too much to even pretend like I do.
I don't have the time.
I know some people do, but
yeah.
If it's like a list video, I'll have like the list ready. But other than that, usually not. Are you ever with your discussion videos worried about the reaction from people? I know you did on Twitter talk about how you get those comments every time, but
I guess because I've been in the community for such a long time, you kind of get, I don't want to say you don't care what people think, because I think it's human nature to care what people think. I mean, it's ingrained in us to, be sensitive to how we may come across to people. But I think for me, it's for a lot of things that I discuss. Well, let's put it this way. Some of my discussion videos, I'm kind of floating in between really having an opinion, because it's really just more so to generate conversations. But stuff like Dr. Seuss, like that situation, I stand firm. Like, you can disagree with me if you want to. And there were people in the comments who did disagree with me, who were feeling like, I shouldn't have encouraged people to read other things outside of Dr. Seuss. And in conversations like that, I'm always down to have a conversation if it happens like that, because we can always agree to disagree. We don't have to have the same opinions. I always think that's important in any conversation. But when I get comments like I usually get, like Black Lives Matter is awful and all lives matter, like, now you either get dragged or I leave laughing emojis under your comments, because those get kind of played out at this point. So, no, not really. Maybe I should be a tad bit more concerned, but that's kind of not my personality either. So, yeah.
Is anybody else ever worried about the audience perception of what you're talking about? Because I know, Riley, did you already film your anti-TBR tag?
Yeah. I feel like as I was filming it, I could think of all the things that people might comment about, but I don't really care. So
my anti-TBR video, it had like a lot of negative comments. Like, I said something about Stephen King, about how I don't appreciate his work all that much. And he says a lot of messed up stuff in his books, let's just say. There's a lot of slurs that I feel like are really unnecessary in his work. And so I was like, I'm just never going to read his books again. Like, I don't feel like it's worth it. And there were a lot of people really arguing with me about that. And I don't feel that there's ever really a need or reason for a white person to be using slurs for just no reason, just because like it's edgy. I feel like Stephen King goes out of his way to be edgy, but that's neither here nor there. And a lot of the comments really disagree with me on that fact. And I just feel like it really doesn't matter. Like, if you like reading Stephen King, if he makes you happy, that's fine. But I don't have to like him. I don't have to appreciate him. And I don't have to read about him. So I feel like it's a good thing to just be strong in your opinion. Know that other people are going to disagree with you, but just be like, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to affect me. I'm not going to read Stephen King just because everyone else loves him. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I ever used to get any kind of negative comments on was if I talked about teaching. So I just don't talk about it anymore, because I don't feel like people telling me how to teach. So I'm just
really?
like, listen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I never get those.
Oh, yeah. I got a lot about how I'm too young, that I use too much technology, which I was like, that's the one? Okay, let me whip out a typewriter, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was just, I just didn't want, honestly, this sounds so dumb. I just didn't want to see them. So I was like, I'm just not going to talk about it. It's fine.
That's so weird. I mean, I guess because your vlogs, you used to vlog at school, right?
Well, I would vlog. I would get there early in the morning and vlog in my car. But the only way you knew I was at school is because I said I'm at school. But I don't know why that would be like the tip off of like, hey, comment on everything. And I'm good.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
The only thing I've gotten for being a teacher is like the content I make and how it's inappropriate as a teacher to make it. But that's really the only thing. Someone did tell me I talk about my master's too much, and I'm like, you know what part it is?
Listen.
Master's degree.
When you put in the work for it, you should talk about it as much as you can.
Yeah. And that was in a video I was talking about, like, it was my dedicated what it's like to be a high school teacher. And I was like talking about reading, and I was like, I know what this is because I'm getting my master's in literacy. And they're like, that's totally irrelevant. Why'd you bring it up? And I'm like, well, this is like the most relevant video I'm ever bringing it up in. So, okay. I don't know. People are just getting mad about something, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Another thing that helps me too is, I'm a public librarian. So I work with the public, meaning that anybody can walk into my building. There are no barriers. So someone saying something to me behind a computer screen and me getting cursed out every week in person, it's like, it doesn't really phase you after a while, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't get cursed out every week. I don't want anybody to think I'm miserable. That's an exaggeration. I don't get cursed out every week. More like every 2 to 3 weeks, probably.
What is your favorite kind of video to watch? So we know I like making vlogs too. I think they're fun.
I like watching vlogs too, but I like discussion videos because I could never. But I like dedicated reading vlogs that are like elaborate and have a theme because I get tired of my theme after I finish the intro. So it never happens, like ever.
Yeah, I agree with Olivia. I really like themed reading vlogs. I also really like wrap-ups for some reason. They're just so relaxing to me to watch, so I love those.
I'm more of I like really, really unique content. So I like watching stuff that I haven't seen anybody else do. First example that comes to my head, like Bree from the Lockpetition just did a video not too long ago, where she actually it was her and her grandmother talking about colorism, in relation to Neela Larson's passing. Like, I've never seen anybody on Booktube do stuff like that. So when people come up with really, really creative ideas that I know I'm probably not going to see, I'm very, very inclined to watch that stuff.
Yeah, I really like themed vlogs too. Like, I don't care what the theme is. You could make a theme on anything. I'll watch it.
Oh, I just lost it. Okay. What are some examples then of themes reading vlogs you like to watch?
I mean, kind of what Riley said, literally, I don't care. Anything. Any of it.
Well, to be a fangirl for a second, Riley makes my favorite theme vlogs. Her vlogs are always so cool. I really like her ideas. She had this one recently where it was like she was reading books that her favorite author had blurbed. And I loved that theme reading vlog. It was just so cool. I had never heard of that kind of concept for a theme vlog before. It was just awesome. So you guys should all be subscribed to Riley if you're not already.
And I will say Kayla is known for her themed reading vlogs.
Yeah.
She just did the Third Time's a Charm vlog where it was her third book by each author that she read. Not everybody does like themed reading vlogs, but I feel like that's a huge shift in Booktube lately. Is everybody's been starting to do those in some way, and I really love them. I like to know what I'm getting into when I watch a reading vlog. This is interesting because these are my least watched videos. When I do an author guide or a specific author dedicated video, I don't know if it's because it's too specific. I love making them, but they never do well.
Yeah, I feel like the thing with Booktube is that no matter what the content is, there's an audience for everything, and people are going to like reading vlogs, and some people aren't going to like reading vlogs, and some people will like discussions, and there's something for everybody.
Oh my God, Lala had such a good question. I really want us to talk about that.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Lala, I want to know how you all feel about seeing someone come out with a video you had an idea for. But someone got
Oh my
to.
gosh. I've had that happen so many times.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I didn't see it. Well, I know, Riley, you did a video. Did you think of it first before Nicole, or did you do it after her? Wasn't it Nicole who did it? The one you just did, the TBR?
I got the idea from her.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if that was this situation where you had thought of it and then she did it and then you're like, oh, now, okay, I'm doing it. Okay.
I've definitely had that happen where I was working on a video and then I see someone upload the same exact concept and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, I have an example. Lala probably doesn't know this. So Lala released her mermaid vlog before I did. So I was in the middle of filming mine and I was like, this is not going to work. This is not because she had already come up with the idea. But I think that I think that this can happen where people will accuse you of stealing the ideas, but I feel like it's always important to credit. Like if you, if something like that does happen, like, shout the person out or just say something, because I think that it kind of helps with that idea that people are stealing ideas. But the thing about it is that Booktube, I feel like too, at the same time, is much bigger than what we think. I think we all as individuals run in our circles, where we are familiar with people, but then every day there are new people who are coming into the Booktube community. It is going to be so likely that you're going to come up with the same idea as somebody else. It happens. And I think sometimes it happens and you can't control it. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of people shout out someone if they've had the same video, or if, they got the idea from somewhere else. But I don't know. And that's the thing. I think our videos were so very different. I think you can do something that has the same theme, but the content itself be different. Like, I feel like, for me, when I did mine, I knew mine was like super, super personal to me as a Black person. And that's why I think I continue with it, because I was like, I don't want to pull back, even though Lala had came up with her video first. I was like, at the same time, I think the directions in which our videos went were completely different. So I don't know. I feel like you can run into issues, but at the same time, I think people have to remember that this community is a lot larger than what you think. And sometimes you are going to run into people who are going to make the same videos as you, or, it seems like somebody's copied your idea, but go with it. I mean, shoot, you're two individuals. You're not going to think alike. So you could have the same idea, but the outcome be completely different.
Yeah, I feel like I am one with the fact that I do Booktube staples like vlogs, TBRs, wrap-ups. So I feel like I can come at this from a viewer point of view versus someone who makes it. Because I've never had a single idea where someone came out with it and I'm like, oh, darn, because I just do weekly vlogs. But it's kind of, to me, the same as like if two beauty gurus came out with a look that looks similar, or makeup companies had a lipstick shade that's the same. I don't think it's stealing. Like, I think that whole thing of there's only so many of your own ideas at this point anymore, but there's always your own point of view, and no one's going to read a book the same, even if you are incredibly similar. So I think if you're worried about it, like shouting someone out in a comment or refilming the intro like that person said is fine. But as someone who watches it, if I see more, I'm just like, ooh, I got to watch more. And usually they're like super long. So it's like 2 feature-length films, and I'm really excited. But that's just me.
Yeah, and if you're reading different books, the videos are going to be completely different, even if it has the exact same theme.
Exactly. Yeah.
Should we then be like looking to see if someone did it first so that we can credit them, or like, do you guys do that? Look and see if it's been done?
Yeah, I do. Even when I came out with my cooking up a review, I typed in kind of that same thing, or I tried to search for tags that may have been the same along the lines of what I was doing. And there was one individual who had done something that was similar, that was a tag. So I credit them at the beginning, even though the video concepts were different in a lot of ways. I still felt like they were close enough that I wanted to make sure that they got credit for what I would consider to be an original idea.
I think this is a good question. And I always struggle with this as well. Do you do spoilery vlogs? Do you keep it non-spoilery? Do you do that for certain books? Do you watch those?
I think I've only made one spoilery vlog, or maybe 2. I think I did one for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and one for Crescent City. And I actually really liked making those videos. It was really fun to be able to like discuss all the little details that I thought were like interesting or funny, or that I didn't like or whatever. So I think they're really fun to film. But I always wonder, like, are they going to get views? Like, is anybody going to be interested in the spoilers? Because I feel like our community is really sensitive to spoilers. So like it can be kind of hard to know like if it's a good thing to do like a spoilery video or if you want to keep everything spoiler free. So I don't know. I mean, I like making them, but I don't make them that often.
Mm-hmm. I usually don't watch them, so I wonder, and that's what I always think, like, if I make them, is anybody going to watch it? Because then I'd assume they'd have to have read it to watch it. So
I asked that question on YouTube sometime last year, like why like things like reviews and stuff actively just perform lower. And most people who responded to that tweet were saying it's because they're either interested in the book and they don't want to watch it, or, you know, they may become interested. So the spoilery aspect kind of drives the viewership a little bit lower because people don't, you know, some people don't care. Some people are like, I want to know because I want to know your specific reactions. But I know a lot of people who will hold off watching them to later, which is why they have a tendency to look like they perform better over time than they do when you initially upload them. I know for like my reviews, some of my reviews have, I mean, shot up, and that's only because people have probably gone back and they've read the book later or whatever the case may be.
I feel like spoilery vlogs make more sense for books that are really popular that a lot of people have already read. But when it's something that is like brand new, I never do that.
Those are, I filmed one for Court of Silver Flames because I was like screaming for 200 pages and I was mad. So I just needed to vent to my camera and I was like, well, I might as well edit it. But it's like one of two kinds of videos that I'll do where I'm just like, I'm doing this because I like it, not because I anticipate a lot of people to watch it. But as a watcher of them, sometimes if it's a book I don't want to watch, I will watch every single spoilery vlog that comes out. It's like, then I read the book, but I don't have to suffer.
I think you bring up a good point that I really want to talk about because I've been struggling with this. Since Bridgerton came out, all I've wanted to do is read historical romances, and those videos are the least viewed on my channel. So then I know, Riley, you know this. I mean, I was just looking at your videos. The historical romance reading vlog got a lot less than what your normal videos do. And I just feel like guilty that I'm reading what I love, and like my followers are annoyed because they don't want that content. So how do you juggle reading for yourself and reading for views? And do you care about the views you think your videos are going to get? I mean, I'm assuming we all do. I know I do. I care how my videos do. And how do you read then for yourself versus the videos?
I feel like this is such a good question because recently I've been getting more into like adult fantasy when before my channel was like very romance heavy. And I literally made one vlog where I was talking completely about fantasy, just the one vlog. And then in my next vlog, it was like romance. And they were like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're talking about romance again. It's fine that you like fantasy, but I missed the romance so bad. And it was literally one video. So it can be really hard to like juggle your own personal interests or like maybe how your reading taste is shifting versus what your audience really wants to see from you or is interested in from you. So it's something that I have been kind of struggling with a little bit when I'm coming out with my recent video ideas. But I do think that it is like, it's a little bit difficult keeping that balance between what I want to read versus what I know my audience is interested in. So I don't know. If you guys have any tips, I would love to know about it.
For me, I came to grips with that. I agree with you, Mina. It is a very, very hard thing to come to grips with. Last year, I came to grips with the fact that I'm gonna do me. Like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Because I think that for me, it's two things. You always have to know what is your purpose here. If you don't know what your purpose is here, you will stay chasing the numbers because that's the only thing that you have to look forward to. And then the other thing is, I think that you have to do what is passionate for you so you don't burn out, so you don't lose interest, so you don't get to a point where you're like, I don't even like my own content anymore because you're not doing it for you anymore. And it is a balance. It is a hard balance because as humans, when you look at people say, oh yeah, it's not the numbers. And it's like, but you have to understand it's human nature to look at the numbers and be like, you put in all this work, you want the numbers to match it. I mean, that's human. I will never fault anybody for feeling that way because we all feel that way. It's a matter of being a part of a platform like this. But I think for me personally, I can only speak for me, is that I knew that if I wanted to continue to do this, I had to put out content that I also was interested in doing. Because if I am constantly thinking about, what everybody else wants to see, I feel like I'm no longer reading for me, and then it becomes a job. I already have a job. Booktube is not going to be my job. I don't have any aspirations to become a full-time booktuber and, to sustain my life off of YouTube. It's not going to happen. So for me, it's less of a thing for me to be like, oh, I need those views. I need to do these videos to maintain those views. So, I mean, I don't know how many of y'all know this. I know a couple people know, like, I read comics like a mug, like it's crazy. Like, I go to a comic book shop once a week, and it's not that many Black women out there that read comics like that, but it's my thing. It's my passion point. And I had not done any comic content. I wasn't even reading comics, and I was reading comics, but I wasn't even putting them on Goodreads or anything, because I was just like, oh, people are not going to like this. It's not their expectations. People are not going to watch my comic video. And they don't. Like, if you go on my channel, my comic videos are the worst performing things. If I get 1,000 views out of a comics video, I'm lucky. I know going into it that I'm not going to get that. It's a certain group of my viewership that watches the comics, and that's my passion point. And I know that sometimes, if I do it a certain way, the algorithm, the algorithm is already working against me anyway. So at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't care. And that's a whole nother discussion about implicit bias and views, because those tie together too. Because being a Black woman on YouTube and trying to get those numbers is a different ball game as well. So for me, it's a lot of different factors where I'm like, I already feel like the algorithm is not going to work in my favor. I want to do this for the long haul. I like this community. I like talking about books, but I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about at this point. I think I'm kind of at that point. And I know my strong points. Like, I know that, like, my wrap-ups are always going to do well, because people expect that from me. They expect the reviews from me. I know my discussion videos are always going to do well. But every now and then, 2-3 times a month, I'm going to throw a comic book video in there, because that's what I want to do, So it is hard finding that balance. But I think, like, when you get there, it feels good. It feels really, really good when you get there, because then you feel like you can do whatever the heck you want to do, and you don't have to answer to anybody. So that's just me.
I feel like I started out as a book blogger and on Bookstagram, so I kind of went through a numbers obsessive phase before I hit Booktube. Not to say that I don't care about numbers, and I would say that I haven't started to care less about them. I've just started to prioritize other things over them, which has helped. And as someone who watches a lot of Booktube, I prefer to watch someone who's passionate about what they're doing. So I went through a phase of binging Miss Riley and Lala's videos. And I was like, I can do this. I can be creative. And like I said, I got through an intro and I was like, this is exhausting. I can't film this for 2 months and then like put it out there and just cross my fingers and hope. Plus I was already bored of the books. I much prefer to be passionate. Like, I'm more passionate reading a ton of random books in a weekly vlog than I am trying to do that. It's just not my thing. It's a thing that gets more views, but to me, I burnt myself out of reading for 2 months. So I was like, this is just not worth it, because I'm here because I like to read first. I like attention too, but I like to read, and I want to keep reading. So that was mine, is like, I just had to figure out, like, I just want to stay passionate about what I'm making, and views don't always equal passion.
They don't.
Yeah, I definitely, when I started Booktube, I would make the videos that I thought people wanted to watch. And there was years when, in theory, I thought I loved Booktube, but every time I would sit down to make a video, I would just not be enjoying it. And it's because I wasn't making what I was actually passionate about. And when I finally shifted to doing that and doing like mostly romance videos and historical romance, even though maybe it's not what the masses want to watch, I really love it. And I'm actually enjoying what I do.
What does the best on your channels? Like, what do you know? Oh, if I post this, I know I'm going to get a lot of views compared to all my other videos.
Anything about discourse. anything that is asking people's opinions or I'm giving my opinion. I think it varies from person to person because you get known for something. I think it becomes part of your brand. So for me, like, I know if I go and I put up some conversation tomorrow, I know if I look at, YouTube Studio, it's going to be number one. It's going to outperform the last 10 videos that I've done. Same thing with wrap-ups and stuff. Those usually outperform everything else because I think that people now have become accustomed to me doing reviews. And that's just it. I think it just becomes a part of who people see you as or what they expect from you.
Honestly, on my channel, there is no consistency between what's going to get views and what isn't. Like, I never know. I just kind of put a video out, fingers crossed it does well, and I really never know. And I've kind of noticed that a lot of my videos are more of like slow burners, and they like catch a lot later. And I'll look back like, a month or two later, and I'll be like, oh wow, that hit 7,000 views. I had no idea. But I think that, like, for me, it's never a guarantee if a video is going to do good or not. Unless it's a book haul. Book hauls tend to be like pretty successful for me.
Yeah, book hauls do well for me too. But am I gonna film them twice a year? No.
Okay, but I watched your hour-long book haul the other day. I sat right here on this couch, got a snack, and I watched the entire video.
It was
and sat right here.
It was 3.5 hours of footage that I had to edit.
No, ain't no way left.
The silent tears the whole time I'm doing it. I was just like, this is so unfortunate for me.
I do think your thumbnail, though, people are like, oh my God, what is this girl doing? I have to watch this video. You're just like...
Listen, to be fair, I had pillows propping those up, so there weren't as many as it looked. Okay, deception rule number 1.
It's a lie.
Also, it was a scam.
We're from exposed behind the scenes. It's from last July till literally the day I filmed that. I got a package as I was filming. No, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. But also, some of them were for my classroom, so it's like,
it's fine.
But also, yeah, I did do that.
Why? And I feel like people are like, Booktube is so consumerist. Like, they just care about buying books. And I'm like, well, look at what does well. The book hauls get so many views.
Mine don't.
Oh, yours don't?
No, they do not.
No.
My book hauls, I'll be lucky if I have a book haul.
You gotta prop it on pillows.
Listen, I think, I don't know. It's the strangest things. Like, my book hauls do not. They don't perform as well as my other videos. And that's the one kicker that seems to, like, everybody seems to do well with book hauls. But mine, for some reason, my viewership, they're not into it. They could care less.
See, everybody talks about loving themed reading vlogs, and mine do the worst on my channel. And it's my list videos that do really well. Yeah, and they're like the easiest to make. And I'm just like, okay, got to do another hate to love video today because those are the ones everybody wants to do. It's like, why do you like the ones that take, I mean, I guess it's nice. It doesn't take any effort, but I'm like, appreciate the effort I'm putting into these other videos. Yeah. I just think it's interesting because, like, I can see someone else like Olivia, your vlogs always do super well. No one cares about my vlogs, and it's just like weird. Like, what does Booktube want?
I could not tell you why they do, though. Like, I'm really lucky they do because it's kind of all I like to film. Like, the book hauls, the reason I only film 2 a year is because I don't even watch 2 a year. I don't like watching them, so I don't like filming them. I've noticed that, I don't know, they're just, I feel like they're boring behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. Around.
Well, you don't get to know anything other than what it's about, and I'm like, well, I already know what that book's about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true.
I think on my channel, there's a really big difference between videos that do really well on the first day and then videos that over time get the most views. Because some of my best performing videos overall, like the first week, nobody watched them. But then over time, they just got the most views. And those are usually like my recommendation or list videos.
Riley, your last vlog was hilarious. Where you were looking for your copy of
and King Jameson.
I still think I own it. Like, I can't find it.
Riley spent like the first few minutes of, I know I have this book.
There's another question I want to ask. So, like, With Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Silver Flames came out. Everybody did a video. I did a video. And I know everyone's doing a video. Do you think there's a point when like everyone's doing it that you're just like, I can't? Because everyone.
I was in the middle of filming a Dark Academia reading vlog before I ever saw anybody upload them. And then within like 2 weeks, there were hundreds. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
So you scrapped the video?
Yeah.
Oh, my Court of Silver Flames one, it's sitting real pretty just on my computer. And it's probably not going to move. Because I was just like, no one wants to see me this mad at this Reese boy. Like, we don't need to do this. It's okay.
Man, it was so many. I went into my sub box one day and I was like, forget it. I was like, I just closed the whole thing out. I was like, I'm going to find something else to do today because it was so everybody. I mean, and it's like, it's channels that I love, don't get me wrong, but it literally was like video after video after video. And I'm like, I can't do it, you know? And I guess it would be nice to like, maybe if like I had read the book and I wanted to see everybody's different perspectives, but even then it's kind of like, I felt like I would, you know, I'd get burnt out on watching it. So. Yeah.
I think I only watched like 3 people's videos, even though I made one too. And like 50 people posted the same day. I don't know. I feel like you get the same thing after 3 people.
It felt like it was a race to release the video. Like, who could get out the video first?
I'm like,
read it on release day. And I'm like, this is a 700-page book. And it was like a Tuesday. And I'm like, sorry, I work. So I posted mine on Sunday because I could read it Saturday. But I like felt pressured. Like it was too late. No one's going to care. And the same happened with the Shadow and Bone trailer reaction. Like as soon as it dropped, it's like trailer reaction. And I'm just like, but I did the same thing when Bridgerton's trailer came out and all the romance booktubers were doing that. So
all of y'all, Bridgerton. I was like, you know, maybe I should just watch the show so I can understand. I still haven't watched it.
Like yours and Lacey's Bridgerton videos got so many views. I was like, damn, I should have done it.
It's one of the most watched on the channel now, so I'm not mad about that. That one was fun to make because I loved the book series. That's interesting. Do you ever also feel like then you should be reading something because everyone else is?
No.
I can't afford to. And that's just because of my job. I can't afford to. Yeah.
That was an easy question. You just all said no. No.
Okay.
I don't know what this means.
I don't know either.
Oh, okay. Do you guys do trailer reactions? I don't think I ever watched them, but I've done one.
I've done one. It was when the Gilmore Girls did the new, what's it called?
Oh, the revival.
The revival. Yeah. That was years ago. I haven't done one since.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done one.
I think I did one for, what was it? To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a trailer reaction for that video. I don't know. I think it's not on my channel anymore, but I did do one.
I think I would be too nervous to post a trailer reaction because I really avoid making videos that I feel like is going to invite other YouTube communities.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And the editing, but also that.
Yes.
It's literally what Kayla just put in here.
Yeah.
That's what happened with my Bridgerton video. Like now I'm getting just like weird people who I know don't even watch Booktube, like about trigger warnings, because I gave trigger warnings for each book and people were going off about that. And I'm just like, I didn't ask for that comment. But
I used to talk a lot about the Shadowhunters show because it is trash and I will slander it at any turn I can. And it just, so many people wanted to tell me what they thought of that. And I didn't want to see it. So I just stopped. I would never post a reaction because it...
I just did one of these. It's going up this week. I know, Riley, you've done this.
Yeah, those are actually my most popular videos.
I hated filming it. And I even said at the beginning, I was like, if Riley can film in public, I can film in public. I can do this. And then editing it was so boring. Just watching me pull a book out, put it back, pull a book out. But I watched yours and I liked it. So actually making it wasn't the best fun.
I made one in the fall and I really liked making it. I thought that it was fun. I liked editing it and everything. And I'm thinking of making another one soon. But I mean, I think that they're really nice to watch. I like them. They're usually pretty relaxing.
I would love to do one, but I'd have to figure out like how to do that with a toddler in tow.
Oh, true.
That could be kind of fun.
Are you okay with filming in public?
Yeah. I don't know why. I really do feel like, honestly, and I hate like repeating it, but I feel like because I work so openly with the public does not intimidate me at this point. Like there's not much that hasn't been said. There's not much that I haven't seen. So being out in public with like a camera is kind of like, it is what it is.
I have noticed more people doing book tags, which I think is exciting. What do you guys think about this question?
I typically don't do tags unless they're like super unique or they're different. So like when Helene did the Black History Month book tag, that was the first tag I had done in a very, very long time. But it was original. I'd never seen it done before. So I hopped on that one. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not inclined to do Booktube tags. Unless it's like a staple. You know, we all do like the mid-year book freakout tag. Like, you know, I feel like that's a Booktube staple. But I don't think it really, in those two situations, those are probably the two that I've done in the past year. They've both gotten good views. So I guess they kind of help. But I don't do tags enough to really give a straight answer for that.
Yeah, the only tags that I do consistently are the mid-year freakout one and then the end of the year tag. And then I just filmed the anti-TBR tag. But I always feel like when I do like tags, I have to trick my audience into watching it. Because I feel like if I put like, it's this tag, like nobody's going to watch it.
I feel like there are tags though that go around, like the anti-TBR tag every once in a while, or like the like scavenger hunt. Wasn't there one? Like I think there were 2 different editions of it where you like had to go around and like find different books.
Oh, like do I have that book?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that was more of a challenge, not a tag. This is an interesting question. Is there a video that you got a lot of hate for that made you want to stop filming for a bit?
On my bookshelf reorganization, I got a lot of comments about like the quarter extra of my body I showed, and I was like, oh, it's time to shut the show down. But not about like anything that actually has anything to do with my channel. I've never, because I'm just like, well, that's your opinion about my opinion, and that's fine. But when it comes to those comments, I'm just like, okay.
My Twilight video, but I said what I said. It is what it is. I did a review and people were pissed, and I don't care. Oh, and when I took the video down. When I did the video last year about being Black on Booktube, the comments on that were fun. They were really, really fun.
Yeah, I took mine down too.
Yeah, I got tired of just the blatant, like, just crazy stuff. And I feel like too, part of me took it down because I was like saying some pretty horrendous stuff to some people that were, you know, saying some also pretty horrendous stuff, but I kept getting out of character and I didn't like that, so I just took it down.
Oh, where did it go? These all keep moving. There was one about, okay, I think this is interesting, and I don't know what genre this person reads. I know, well, everybody but Olivia with the romance booktube and reading. Olivia tries. She reads some romance. But with indie romance, like I would love more people to talk more about indie romance who aren't romance readers. Especially like I know, Ashley, you talked about a lot of authors of color who are indie romance authors. Do you see them becoming popular? Are you tired of seeing the same traditionally published books? Olivia, I don't know if you ever read indie romances.
If some, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I have.
Y'all please tell me too to shut up if I'm talking too much.
We're fine. That's what we're here. I knew we'd have good discussion.
This is an interesting question for me because I don't think it's oversaturated with traditionally published books. I think that everybody keeps reading the same traditionally published books, and that's why it feels oversaturated. I think that there's a certain comfort in reading things that we recommend amongst ourselves as creators and as viewers watching us because we like it. People are more inclined. There are, thousands and thousands and thousands of books that get published each year. And coming from the librarian perspective is why I always find this question so interesting, because what's big on Booktube is not big outside of Booktube. And I always find that very, very fascinating. What we hype up and what we make a big deal out of does not move as much as you think it moves outside of our circle. So do I think that it's oversaturated with traditionally published? No. Do I think people need to broaden their horizons a little bit? Absolutely. Because it's too much. It's too much to choose from. I'm always going to be, I'm always down to support indie, but I think that we kind of have to start looking outside of the box and stop kind of waiting for something to become popular before we pick it up. It shouldn't be like I have to wait for 10 or 15 booktubers to mention this book before I'm ready to say, I want to read this book for myself. So, yeah.
That reminds me with Riley, your video today where you talked about Beverly Jenkins, and I was like, no,
oh my gosh, I was
no
so
way.
shocked.
And even Indigo, like her, I was like, there's no way Indigo has less than 3,000 ratings and Goodreads. There's no way. And then I looked and I was like, you are so right. Because we all read Beverly Jenkins and like hype her so much. But it's like, okay, our little booktube community does that. But like in the grand scheme of the book world, I was shocked.
Yeah, I compared the amount of ratings that she has on Goodreads to other historical romance authors that have been writing the same amount of time that she has. And they had the total amount that Beverly Jenkins has on all of her like over 30 books that like those other authors would have on one book. And I was just like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I see the same with authors who finally get popular. Like Talia Hibbert has a huge backlist, but only now people are like, oh, read Talia Hibbert. It's like, yeah, she has her 3 Brown Sister books, but like.
But it's when she got traditionally published.
Yes.
That happens so much.
Yes.
I feel like this is a really interesting topic because I mostly talk about like indie romance on my platform. And so I think that it does feel like traditionally published books are pretty popular on Booktube, but I spend a lot of time in like the romance community, and I feel like the romance community reads a lot of independent.
A lot of indie. Yeah, they do. So, definitely.
It's interesting what you will find if you're in like different sub communities of Booktube.
Does anybody ever read like indie?
Go ahead, Jessica.
Fantasy? Like other like the subgenres, like do people even like indie fantasy? I don't think I see anybody.
I read indie fantasy romance.
Yes, true. But I do think like the indie romance just makes so much money in general. That's why it's like easier to find that. So I've never delved into other.
I read indie comics because, I get tired of seeing Marvel and DC make all the money. They're the big hitters, DC, Marvel, and Image. So I make sure to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to indie comics, because that's the only way that they literally stay in business is to go to a shop and buy their stuff. So we're talking indie. I read a lot of indie romance and a lot of indie comics.
I just lost a comment I wanted to talk about. I think this is interesting. So I saw this on Twitter, and someone was like, "Everyone's making the same videos." I'm like, "No, you're just watching
The same people.
people."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get frustrated seeing that a lot. Like, oh, everybody on Booktube is doing the same thing. And I'm like, but who are you watching?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your sub box is going to tell you why you keep seeing the same content. Because there are a lot of creators, big and small, out there doing some fire stuff in the community right now. But if you don't go looking, and you stay subscribed, I'm not saying you have to unsubscribe to people that you've been subscribed to, but maybe it's time to kind of start looking for different people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I subscribe to a lot of booktubers who don't even have the same taste in books as me, and I probably won't read the majority of the books that they're talking about, but I always I'm looking for that one book that maybe all the other people I'm following aren't going to talk about.
I watch probably 95% romance booktubers. I do. I really do. I promise. I'll show you the feed right now.
No, I have proof.
It's real.
I don't know. Are any of you on Book Talk?
I block
I'm
it.
too old. I'm too old, man. I'm past that. I'm past that phase
I'm
in my
on
life.
TikTok, but I'm not on Book Talk.
I'm not even on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok.
I still use Facebook. How about that?
I'm on TikTok, but I just want one social media where I don't see any of the book opinions. So I block all of them that come up.
Yep.
I do think the in video now, I don't think any of you have done it where you react to Book Talk for the first time, because Book Talk is such a buzzword now that anybody sees it, or I read Book Talks, hyped books, and that's going to get views. And Book Talk, romance Book Talk is stuck in 2015, and it makes me annoyed.
No.
Seeing that, because I talked about, I think Riley, you said what channel I was talking about. There's this girl who has 80,000 subscribers now, and she hasn't been on YouTube that long, but she's really huge on TikTok, and all of her recommendations are from 2015. I was like, we were talking about this 5 years ago. Come to Booktube if you want these recommendations.
I don't understand why that is. Why aren't they reading newer books? Why is it all old stuff?
I would wonder if it's maybe the same thing of Booktube, where people don't realize how big Book Talk is, just like we don't realize how big Booktube is. So maybe some are in 2021 with us, but the majority, the ones I see, the ones that keep saying, I do not like, please don't show me this again, are all talking about hush hush. I'm like, I've been there, and I did that in high school.
We were liars, yep.
Yes. On the bestseller list again, and I'm like, literally, this was all over Booktube when it came out.
Didn't it come out 2014?
Yes.
Yeah, it's old.
Jeez, man. Gotta let this stuff go.
But it's now
the selection's all over Book Talk.
I feel like they have to be finding some of this stuff, just looking for book recommendations, Googling it, book recommendations, and then just seeing a popular recommendation list, because they can't be plugged into any other bookish space and getting these recommendations, because they're all so old. And that's not to say that any of those books are bad necessarily. I just don't understand how they can be so dated in what they're reading. It's it's so wild to me.
Oh, that's one romance I have read.
And this is from we were all talking 5 years ago. And what do you guys think about publishers now putting attention to Book Talk, and Barnes and Noble has they're all bestsellers because of Book Talk. I am annoyed as a booktuber. I don't know how you guys feel.
On the one hand, I could see being annoyed, but I also feel is that how bloggers felt when Booktube started? They're like, oh, these booktubers, I get it.
Well said. It's marketing. It's money. I think sometimes we forget. These publishers have to make money. It is a business, and I don't know why we disassociate publishers with a money-making entity. They have to find the best marketing tactics to make their money. So if TikTok or Book Talk is the latest and greatest thing, I expect them to go with it because that's going to put money into their pockets. So does it always make sense? Sometimes, no, probably not. But like money wise, yeah, they're going to find whatever way they can to make sure their coins are in their pockets.
Going off of what Ashley just said, I want to say that the TikTok algorithm is like 1,000,000 times better than the YouTube algorithm will ever be.
Oh, shoot, Mina.
I'm just letting you know that like it's so much easier to see content on BookTok or just on TikTok in general based on stuff that you're interested in. Like I can watch a Marvel movie and then as soon as I open TikTok, it's going to show me 1,000,000 Marvel TikToks. Like the algorithm is just so good and it's so like tailor-made to what you're interested in that I feel like it's better for publishers. It makes more sense for them to put money into that platform because there's more likely that if they send books to 10 TikTokers that they can get, you know, hundreds of thousands of views just on those 10 people rather than sending out hundreds of books to bloggers and booktubers, Instagrammers, whatever. So I think that it makes sense from like a marketing, money-making perspective, but it is like kind of annoying when you see like, oh my God, they're paying these TikTokers thousands of dollars and it's like, oh my God, but like, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little sad.
I just think it's interesting because I don't think publishers from the channels I watch sponsor that many videos.
Mm-mm.
Do you see publishers really active in YouTube? Do we really not have any impact whatsoever on book sales?
I see it, but a lot of my connections from publishing, I'm not going to lie to you, have come from reviews and reviews on Instagram at that. So, you know, I feel like what I do on YouTube, and this is just me just thinking about like whatever connections I have, I feel like what I do on YouTube is irrelevant to them in their eyes. Like Macmillan had this whole thing last year sometime where they had people meeting with just the different imprints of Macmillan, and all of it was geared towards Instagram. Like none of it was, you know, if you have a YouTube channel. So I'm sitting in there like, why am I here? Like, I mean, I'm on Instagram, but the amount of time and dedication that I put into YouTube, you'd be lucky if you get one Instagram post from me a week. So it's very interesting. I feel like they know we're here, but I don't feel like they think we have as much pull as maybe they thought we did in the past when, you know, the Booktube community was newer.
And I do think people are more critical of sponsored content. I think it's gotten better, but especially like publisher sponsored content.
Yeah.
Viewers did not like.
Yeah, for me personally, I don't feel comfortable taking on a sponsorship from a publisher. That's just like I would feel uncomfortable doing that. I wouldn't mind someone else doing it, but for me, I would rather take on a sponsor that's like it like not a conflict of interest almost.
No, I feel I'll take on a sponsor literally of anything else.
Yeah.
Like I'll do a vacuum sponsorship before I did a review one.
Wow.
I've only ever seen few now, but like in the past, it's always been the 200K plus people getting book sponsorships. And then most of the time they didn't even read the book. They're like, hey, this is sponsored by this person for this book. Now I'm going to go talk about everything else. And it's like, I mean, I guess that's what product sponsorships are. Like we're paid to like show it and talk about it and then move on. But I guess with books, I'm like, well, aren't you going to read the book? Like you're a Booktube channel. So I don't know.
I mean, I was sponsored by Penguin Teen to promote the Ember and the Ashes series. So I do think that Penguin Teen specifically, I see them doing a lot of like sponsorships with Booktubers. But I think they do sponsorships with maybe like smaller channels, which I appreciate about them.
Yeah, they have been. They've been moving and shaking since like 2 years ago, Penguin Teen. I do like them. I'm a little biased towards them because they were reaching out before people even were, you know, big channels.
Yeah, so. Penguin Teen was the very first like publisher to take a chance on me.
Yeah,
like
me
back
too.
when I was really small.
Yep.
I think it's interesting going back to the because I'm finally reading the Booktube things. Book Talk is just like here's a book, here's a book, here's a book, but then Booktube you actually have them like talking about it. So I guess it does depend. Someone was like, well, you get way more books for your time on Book Talk, but then it's like, oh, Booktube you get an actual like in-depth explanation and like review on it versus, because Book Talk, isn't it only 60 seconds?
Yeah.
But people like the quick fast things. That's also something with Booktube, is that short videos used to be popular. And like now they're not. I know, Ashley, you have like hour-long wrap-ups.
Okay, that's only because I know some people don't like it. I mean, once again, but I'm back to the point where I do what I do. My wrap-ups end up being an hour long because I'm very, very detailed in my wrap-ups. So they do end up being, my wrap-ups are always guaranteed to be at least an hour long, and I split it into 2 parts. I can't help it. I don't know what to do. I've tried different things. I don't have the time to do weekly wrap-ups, and I can't shut up. So, and it is what it is on that end.
Don't do a thing. I want to watch them, all of them. I want the raw footage.
And Olivia, you're the one with the hour-long book haul too. You do super long videos too, and they seem to work fine.
Well, the reading vlog, that at that point, I'm just like, this is going to be however long it is. And when you get tired, it's fine. You can leave. I understand.
Yeah.
I do think I was talking, I forget what live show I was doing. This is my 3rd live show this weekend. I don't remember what said where. But a lot of people are doing over 10-minute videos now for the ads, because you can't add multiple ads in for less than a 10-minute video, which I think, I don't know how long all of you guys have been on Booktube, but like even 5 years ago, like ads and money didn't matter. At least I know to me they didn't, from when I was making Booktube videos 5 years ago. What do you guys think of how driven people can be for getting monetized and getting watch time and making money? Because I think that also drives the whole views conversation.
Yeah,
go ahead. Right. No, I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead.
I didn't even monetize my channel until I had it for like 4 years. I didn't even know that like that was a thing.
I didn't know either.
No one talked about being monetized. It like wasn't anything. And then it started coming up, and I didn't even make $1 for like another year. Like I don't know when YouTube started being like so ad heavy. I don't know if it's because they've put more ads or put more money into ads, but like it took a long time before I even made a buck.
I can't even remember when I got monetized. Like nobody was talking about it, and I don't even remember when it happened.
Well, dang, y'all, I wish I had y'all's blessing to think about that, because as of last year, your girl was still trying to, let's put it this way. I was still not monetized by the time they enacted that new rule where you had to have 1,000 subscribers and then 4,000 hours of watch time. So I think I was monetized, and then I lost it because I didn't have the requirements. But what I do like about like this whole thing about being monetized and stuff is Booktubers now being more transparent. Like Jess, I know you did a video where you talked about like kind of like behind the scenes stuff about being a booktuber and stuff. And a lot more people have done stuff like that, because I feel like people don't know what it looks like or what it's like. Once you get monetized, and I think people think like once you get monetized, you automatically start collecting checks without realizing you can get monetized and Google's still not going to pay you until you reach that $100 threshold. So you could be collecting, it could take you months. And some people, it's taking them a year even to see a check for the first time. So I think that because people don't necessarily know, I don't know. There could be a lot of gray area behind that.
Mm-hmm. I want to keep this up to remember to talk about it, but if anybody has any other thoughts on monetization, or we can move on. All right, what do you guys think is a small booktuber versus a big booktuber? I think this is interesting.
I feel like it changes, like as Booktube is growing. Like what I considered a big booktuber 3 years ago, I don't consider a big booktuber now. So
that's true, Riley. That's a good point.
Well, what do you consider to be big now?
Like
over 100K for me. I feel small.
Yeah, I would say over 100K is big.
Yeah. I think it's all about perspective too, like, because for us, well, for me, like, I think I'm the smallest out of the 5 of us. I'm pretty sure I'm the smallest out of the 5 of us. So for me, I could say like, oh yeah, I'm small in comparison to y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But then when someone else is looking at me, they're like, nah, Ashley, like you're not a small channel. And then 2, it depends on like whether you're in the community or whether you're like outside the community. Because if I go around and I tell people at my job, yeah, I have 19,000 people, and they're like, whoa, that's a lot of people. And I'm like, no, it's not. So it's
Yeah.
they're like, oh my gosh, you're famous. I'm like, no, I'm not famous. Trust me, I'm not famous at all. So it's a lot of perspective. So I never really know how to answer this question because it changes depending upon where you are, who's looking, and whether you're inside or outside the community.
I thought this was funny in Riley's blog. You just like, I want to stop here. Like, well, thank you. And I do think it's interesting because like I'm at 43,000 now, and like, but I see people that I was at like 20,000 with, and they're like 80,000 now. So I'm like, I still feel like very small when I see people who were like level with me, like super jump. So that's affected how I see who's big and who's small.
I think that's a good point too. I don't know if you want to talk about that, like growth rates and how there's a lot of factors that play into that. Because I think sometimes people get on Booktube and they're hoping to just explode, and it's like I feel like there's so many different things that play into that. I don't know if anybody's interested in talking about that. I also can just not, talk about it.
I mean, I noticed my growth rate changed from when I stopped reading predominantly young adult fantasy and I started reading adult, because first of all, they're freaking huge and it takes me so much longer. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't even know if I really want to be an adult fantasy booktuber, though, considering who I get so many dude bros in my comments now that I'm just like, yes, please, mansplain Tolkien to me. I love it. But I noticed a difference based on what I read, or not even what I read, but what I put in my thumbnail that people assumed I was reading.
For me, and it's something that I've come to terms with, just kind of speaking for myself, I think there's a couple of factors for me that I've kind of looked at, like, I think it's a stroke of luck, whether the algorithm picks you up and whether it doesn't. I think some people have that one video that does good, and the algorithm has a tendency just to favor them from then on out. I also think that aesthetic plays into it as well. I think that, there are societal factors that play into it. I know that a lot of Black content creators, for example, boosted last year and are low-key paying for it right now because, we've been dealing with that people subbing and not watching. And that's been a huge thing in terms of like, because you have all these subscribers, but no one's watching your content. The algorithm is not going to favor you because they don't think that anybody's watching your content. Mm-hmm. I've said time and time again that I feel like implicit bias also plays a role into it because, and I low-key want to test this out, whether you acknowledge it or not, how you feel about someone physically, whether that plays a huge role in whether you're going to watch their content or not. Personally, I feel like it does. I think that's just kind of a universal thing. I don't think it's always intentional, which is why I always say like implicit bias is always an important thing to kind of educate yourself about, because sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing it. But I think it does. You're going to see, honestly, Black booktubers are going to grow slower, or people of color. And I can't speak for everybody because I'm not every person of color. I can only speak as a Black booktuber in my experience. We grow at a slower rate. I think, who has the highest numbers as a Black booktuber off the top of my head? Is it Naya? I think
so.
And Naya's been on Booktube for how long? Like
a long time.
Probably not like a year or two removed from me. And I started like in 2014. So, it's hard to, and I'm the type of person where I'm like, I always feel like I'm always inserting like implicit bias and discrimination and race and everything, but it's the world that we live in. And so I'm always going to talk about it that way. But I think it's always like, that's an important factor to consider too, when you're thinking about growth on Booktube. And when you don't fit into someone's aesthetic appeal, sometimes it may take you a little bit longer to grow, or you may not grow at all. But that's just, for me, that's always been something to consider in terms of growth. Yep.
I also, go ahead, Mia. I'm just
sorry. I think for me, my growth has been really kind of strange. I think it's really impacted like my relationship to my channel, because I've had my channel since 2018. I wasn't like super consistent with making content really until 2020, and like, you know, the pandemic, I had more free time. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, focus in a little bit more on my channel. So I was making a lot of content, and then the channel kind of blew up in the summer a little bit because I made like a tier ranking video that got like 100,000 views. And then I also made a video talking about like, you know, just racism in the community. And that video did pretty well, I guess. And so I feel like I got a lot of attention because of those two videos. And so my channel was growing like a lot at that period of time. And then I feel like it's so hard to, I don't know, like judge the growth of my channel from then to now, and like be able to tell like what does a successful video look like, because I feel like the metrics and the analytics look so different compared to that like initial growth period to like where I'm at now. So it could be really, I don't know, it could be really strange, like trying to figure out the analytics and like what does well and like how you play into the algorithm, because sometimes the algorithm loves you, sometimes it's just like ambivalent about you. So it can be like really confusing. I think that's one of like my hardest struggles when it comes to like numbers and stuff, because I just never know like what's gonna do good, or like what could I do that would be better, that will help me grow. I have no idea. It all seems a bit random. So I definitely think that like, I don't know, it's interesting to think about, particularly growth rates. So I appreciate this question.
As someone who is part of the romance community, and I know a lot of romance booktubers are in the comments now, romance booktube grows very slowly compared to like what Olivia said, adult fantasy. Like if you slap up Brandon Sanderson, you're probably gonna get a lot of people watching. Are they people you want in your comments of your video? Probably not. Elliot Brooks was doing a live on Books Like Whoa channel and talked about like all the guy fantasy people in the comments. But fantasy does really well. What do you guys, I don't know what your all experiences with this of romance booktubers. There's a lot of comments saying they get less attention. I can vouch that we grow a lot slower than the rest of Booktube.
Yeah, I kind of know that firsthand because my first like year to 2 years on Booktube, my channel grew so fast. And I think I had like 20,000 subscribers in that time. And then when I switched over to primarily reading romance, my channel died. Like I did not gain any subscribers for like over a year. I was losing subscribers. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I made a mistake. But I was enjoying what I was doing. And then slowly, like my channel has built up that growth over time, but it's still kind of like a slow growth compared to what it was before when I read mostly like popular YA and fantasy.
I think that fantasy is like, I won't say it's a more popular genre than romance, because obviously romance is really popular. Romance sales basically keep publishing afloat. So like romance is popular, but I think that there's something about fantasy and like the kind of fandom that fantasy books like create that makes fantasy content much more successful in general than just romance. Especially a lot of like romance booktubers that I watch, they read a lot of indie romance. And like as we could tell from Riley's recent video, like a lot of romance that we're all talking about is really underrated. So I think that like if you throw a Beverly Jenkins book up in your thumbnail, like sure, lots of people have heard of Beverly Jenkins, but how many people have read a Beverly Jenkins in comparison to Brandon Sanderson? So that's why I think that like you will see a huge difference in like the numbers between a fantasy booktuber and a romance booktuber, and like that kind of growth rate. It's unfortunate, but true.
I do think you make a good point though about like the fandom aspect, because like other than like Bridgerton, I don't think there's like a huge like fandom for specific romance series unless they like delve into like Sarah J. Maas, which is YA. well, not really YA, but was marketed as YA fantasy, and like Sanderson and I don't know what other popular fantasy people are, but like they have their fandoms, and like that discussion people love. Like Daniel Green, I didn't even know who he was. Didn't he blow up like super fast with his content?
Yeah, I think that he grew pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I subscribed to him for like 2 years, and I think when I first subscribed to him, he had like 20,000 subscribers, and now he has like 300,000 maybe.
Yeah, that's so fast. 300,000 in 2 years. This is a good question. We can start with the good. Yeah. What do you like best about Booktube?
When the community is good, it's good. Like you can meet some great people through Booktube. You really can. People that I would have never come in contact with in my entire life had it not been for Booktube, honestly.
I think my favorite part of Booktube, aside from the friendships that you can get from it, would be just seeing other people so passionate about reading, because I don't have literally anyone in my life that really is like, just the feeling of watching someone be so excited about books, even if they're romance, which for me it is, because that's all I watch. But it's just so fun to watch, and it makes me want to read more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I love seeing the amount of like different creative content people can make from books, because books, like reading books is a very like solitary like thing that isn't social, but then people can turn it into this really creative thing, and I love that.
I'm reading comments right now if you guys want to keep on talking. But I do agree, the friendships is probably my favorite.
When the drama is real, it is real.
But nobody talks about the drama.
But no one, and that's the thing. I think that's probably, no one wants to have, I think my biggest issue is that when things happen, it's okay to have healthy discourse. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and that's part of the reason why I started doing the discussion videos, is because I feel like there are certain things that almost feel taboo that people don't want to talk about, because it's like, oh, if I talk about it, it's going to start drama. And it's like, but I mean, sometimes you need to talk about things, because if you want the community to be better, how can you expect things to be better when no one wants to have a conversation about it? And I think like Booktube needs to get better about, it's okay to agree to disagree. We're individuals. We're not going to agree on everything. There's so many outside factors that are going to determine how we feel about certain things. And it's okay to say, you know what? We just are not going to agree here. And that's all right. Like, you know, let's leave it where it is and move forward. But I feel like sometimes we get that hive mind mentality. Like, if you don't agree with me, then there's something wrong with you. And that to me is completely unhealthy. I'm also on the older side of the spectrum, so I can't really function in my life. My life can't function like that. I can't do that. So, that's usually when I detach from the community, when it's like no one wants to talk, but everybody kind of wants to just, we all want to move in a hive and think alike, and we'll attack anyone who doesn't think like us.
Yeah, it's like the good and bad of Booktube being so generally positive, which on the one hand, that's great, but then it also, people are afraid to be negative or afraid to say anything that is against the norm. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think Ashley kind of touched on it in your Dr. Seuss video. We didn't elaborate. With the cancel culture, do you think it exists in Booktube?
Booktube doesn't know what cancel culture is. And yes, I said it here, and I said it first. And the reason why I say that, and I say that with good reason, because, and I'm almost tempted to kind of sit down and do a conversation about this, because when you're reading and you're consuming books from a librarian's perspective, cancel culture is very, very dangerous in terms of books. I understand, because it's a lot of pieces and parts to it. Sometimes cancel culture is the only way that we can hold people accountable. Sometimes cancel culture is the only way that we can hold people accountable. Sometimes cancel culture is the only way that we can hold people accountable. Sometimes cancel culture is the only way that we can hold people accountable. Sometimes cancel culture is the only way that we can hold people accountable. However, cancel culture can quickly turn into censorship when it comes to reading if you're not careful. So yeah, I didn't really delve into it because for me as a librarian, like I literally cannot tell someone, do not read this book. I can't. As much as the whole discourse that was going on, specifically about like J.K. Rowling, for example, you know what I'm saying? I still have to go to work every day. And if someone asks me for that book, I can't say, don't read this book because she's a horrible person. I can't do that. It's unethical. In my job and in my career field, accessibility is the most important thing. I have to give people the opportunity to form their own opinions. I cannot deny them that right. So in Booktube, it's so different for me. And for me, in my librarian mind, we teeter on that line sometimes, and it becomes extremely dangerous because the moment that you tell someone not to read a book, you're engaging in censorship. From a librarian's perspective, that is censorship. I am firm in believing like, I'm just not going to support this author. This isn't for me. I stand with whatever community has been harmed by this author. That's where I stand. But I can't police someone and tell them, you can't read this work or you can't do this, because it doesn't work out like that. And you have authors. Jacqueline Woodson is a good person if you're ever interested in censorship. Jacqueline Woodson is a good author to kind of turn to that is really adamant about not telling people, don't read this book, because censorship leads to dangerous things. It's tricky. I think that's the problem too when I think about Booktube and discourse, is that until we start having those really, really intricate and important conversations, when we start making like generalizations or we make these blanket comments about stuff, it can get pretty messy pretty quickly. And it's not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on that, but I kind of stand firm in that because that's just how I function day to day. That even when I do my wrap-ups, I will never say to someone, don't read this book. I will always say, this book wasn't for me. I just, I didn't care for it personally. I will never go on social media and say, don't read this book. I will always say, I'm not going to put my money in this author's pockets, but saying you shouldn't be reading these books, that's dangerous territory. So
yeah, I think that's a really important distinction, because I feel like people confuse someone saying no one should read this, you shouldn't read this, with I am not going to read this and I'm not going to support this, and they think that is cancel culture, which it's not.
It's not.
Right. And I really connect with what you said because, Olivia, you probably relate to this. As teachers, if a kid comes up and says, do you have Harry Potter? Like, I really want to read it. I'm like, you want to read on your own time? Like, take whatever you want. Like, I would never tell them, no, J.K. Rowling's awful. I'm not letting you read her book in my classroom. I want my kids to be reading. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing for me too. I work in a low income community. I'm lucky if I get my kids to pick up anything. So, if I have kids that come in and they say, oh, I want to read a Harry Potter book, I'm not going to stop them. You know what I'm saying? I have my personal feelings about her as a person, but I will never deny someone a book because of how I feel about that author. And it's hard sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It's hard. It's very, very hard. Not to want to do that, but because my mind now functions so much in terms of accessibility and making sure that people have access to whatever information they want, that cancel culture for me can be like a very like, I don't know if I would say cancel. And then also cancel culture is very picky about who it really impacts. We all know that BIPOC individuals are going to be affected more negatively when it comes to cancel culture than others, so when you think cancel culture, like who is it really impacting? Like who are you canceling? And when that whole Dr. Seuss thing came up, it was like, oh yeah, we're canceling Dr. Seuss. I'm like, no. Dr. Seuss is a dead old white man. I promise you, you're not going to cancel him. And it's so unfortunate because people were running with that narrative, and even the media. I was so pissed And that's why it took me so long to kind of like film the video, because the media was running with it. And then you had people all over social media, like, I can't believe they're canceling Dr. Seuss. And I'm like, nobody's canceling. They don't even, like, come on. They don't even know, like, what exactly is going on with the situation. Don't even really know what cancel culture is. It definitely did not apply to that man whatsoever.
Can we talk about this one? It's from Anna. She said, should we separate the author from the book? And like, what do you think about separating the art from the artist? I have my own opinions on this. I personally think that if I find out that an author harbors a lot of like, you know, problematic opinions, or they say something like really controversial, it doesn't align with my own views or whatever, and it just makes me uncomfortable, then I probably won't read their book. I will feel less likely to, like, I don't know, promote them or recommend them or whatever, because I do feel that somebody's like personal biases, I think that that will be in the book in some way or another, whether you realize it or not. And I do think that like who a person is can be reflected in their art. So I don't necessarily think that you can easily make a separation between, you know, the person and the content that they've made. I know that a lot of people like to do that, and they think like, oh, you know, J.K. Rowling said these horrible things, but I still love Harry Potter, so I'm just going to keep reading it. And like, that's fine for every individual. But I think that a lot of J.K. Rowling's like questionable views can be seen in her work. So that's why I don't personally support her books. So I think that that's like, for me, I can't separate the artist from the art, but I do think it's an interesting conversation. So I'd like to know what you guys think.
That happened in my anti-TBR tag, because I started it talking about all these romance authors who are problematic. I'm never going to read them. And I instantly started getting comments from people being like, why would you do that? You can separate the book from the book, like from the author. Why would you not read them? People were defending Jamie Maguire in my comments. And I'm just like, what? And I didn't think anybody was even going to question it. Like, if like Jamie Maguire, awful human being, I got rid of all of her books. I'm never reading them again. So I definitely do have a hard time separating them personally for what I read and what I'm like promoting on my channel. Like, I'm not going to give her money by promoting her to my audience and letting her have a bigger platform. Though I feel like there was a question like, how do you find out about that? Because she still has thousands of people following her on social media, and a lot of people don't know about it. So I don't know how people find out about problematic authors. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I can separate the author from their art. And I'll not read anybody. Like, if I find out some author is problematic or whatever, I don't have the time. Like, there's so many books that I can read. I'm just like, okay, another book off my TBR. I don't really care.
I agree. For me personally, I'm the same way, which is kind of what I was saying with like the Dr. Seuss video too. At the same time, like, you know, I think this conversation, like, it's so hard to have this conversation sometimes, because there's two parts of it. There's you as an individual, and then there's society as a whole. There's a lot of things that I think I would do as an individual that won't necessarily happen with society. So like, for me, it's very, very hard for me to separate the art from the artist. Going back to Harry Potter, in a library situation, I would give that child that book if they asked me for it. You know what I'm saying? In my personal life, they're not on my shelves. My child probably won't see it. Not my child probably won't. My child won't see it. She's going to have to find it on her own. And I don't plan on reading them again. You know what I'm saying? It's that type of situation in my personal life. But then I think about when we talk about separating the art from the artist, y'all are teachers, right? You and Liv are teachers. What about our general curriculum when it comes to English and separating the... Go ahead, Liv.
I was just going to say, that's so... I have to be careful where I work, because it is very different than my personal views. But even if I worked somewhere where my views aligned, I don't want to put my views in my classroom in that way for certain things. And so personally, separating the art from the artist isn't a thing for me. Like, what they say I can see in their books usually at that point. But like you said, if my kid asks for a Harry Potter book, I'm going to want them to read. But what I have done is I have, we don't have a set curriculum at my school, so I get to pick what we do. Okay. So I think I was meant to do To Kill a Mockingbird, or to start looking at that. And I was like, and we're just gonna take that off, and we're going to start looking at like other, just to try to diversify in ways that I'm able to. That isn't specifically my view, but is a different view than they see every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a big place is you know, and I know a lot of librarians do, you know, where if someone asks for something, like, you know, we had someone who asked for like Little House on the Prairie. I can't tell them no, but in the same conversation, I could say, you know, why don't you check this book out too? You know what I'm saying? And then it's kind of hard for me because I can't act in locus parentis, so I can't. I literally, my hands are tied in a lot of these situations, where I literally just can't do anything about it. So sometimes, you know, there are librarians who would like try to low key supplement if they can, with a more positive representation. But even that is such a tricky line. I think, I don't know if y'all would agree in teaching too. Sometimes it's a fine line that you walk when it comes to what you can and cannot put into the hands of kids. But I guess I was asking that because I know in my state it's a pre-selected curriculum, and you know, the stuff that they have on there, man, oh man, oh man, there is no separating the art from the artist. And some of those people should not be on their list, but they exist.
I'm seeing some comments where people are like, do you Google the author first and stuff like that? Who has the time to be researching an author? Like, I don't go out of my way to find out like bad information about an author. I don't do that. But if I do find out something questionable, then I definitely would say like, oh, you know, I might not read from them or support them or whatever. But I don't think that like you should feel obligated to go deep diving into some author's past to see if they're problematic. Like, I don't think that that makes sense. But if you come across something like that, I do think that it's just like, for me personally, if I find out that somebody has said something wild, then I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not going to read their book. I won't buy it. It's fine.
Like the J.K. Rowling thing was everywhere. So like you couldn't, I mean, at least for me, I couldn't not hear about it. So you don't have to look her up.
But then it's crazy because for us, it was so accessible. But there are people who still don't even know that whole thing happened last year. You know, so it's a lot of I think a lot of the things that we find out within our community are within our community sometimes, and not in the larger book community per se.
Back to Booktube content. Do you find it hard to be consistent with uploading?
I do find it hard to be consistent because I like the idea of making like themed reading vlogs and stuff like that. So I like making that kind of content, but it can take a long time to make, you know, like if you have a whole set list of things that you want to read for that theme, like you might not want to read all of those books in 1 week. So it can be hard to have like a tight turnaround for themed content. So sometimes it's hard for me to plan like what kind of videos I want to have in between like long form content that takes a lot of time to put up. So I do find it hard to be consistent because sometimes I'll only feel passionate about like making that themed reading vlog rather than, I don't know, making whatever filler content would go up in the meantime. So I do personally find it hard to be consistent sometimes.
Yeah, I have a really hard time being consistent, mostly because I have a chronic illness. So I can't really plan for when I'm going to be feeling good. And I always try to plan to have 2 uploads in a week, but it doesn't always happen, which is why a lot of times I will film like a bunch of videos at once and then save them so that I have something, like if there's a week when I'm not feeling good, I can just like throw this video up that I filmed a while ago.
I don't have a problem with it. I have like 3 and 4 videos coming out every week because I'm just like, oh, I have this idea and this idea. I don't understand.
You are always uploading. Like, how does she do this?
I just always get really excited about certain videos. I'm like, well, I don't understand how people pre-film and like don't post it for weeks. Because I'm like, as soon as I film it, I edit it, and I'm like, I want this to go up now. Like, I can't wait to post something.
It's the editing step.
I edit immediately after I film. So.
Oh, I take a nap.
But I don't take forever filming either. Like my book hauls, if I like film it for 40 minutes, I'll edit it down to like 30. I don't cut a lot. Like you said, yours was 3 hours and ended up being an hour. I could never. This is a good question too. Where do you get your new ideas from?
I honestly get a lot of my ideas just from the books that I buy. Every time I buy a new book, I kind of make a list in my phone of like all the video concepts I can think of to go with that book. And sometimes like I don't do anything with it, and then other times it actually like turns into an idea.
I'm not really sure like where I get my ideas from, but similar to Riley, I do kind of like to just look through the books that I want to read, the books that are like on my immediate TBR, and see if I can come up with any video concepts that kind of fit that TBR that I have set. And I think that usually helps keep me motivated because there's always new books that I'm interested in reading. So I think that helps like shape the kind of content that I want to make in the coming months. And the way that I don't know, keep my creativity flowing. I have mentioned this on live shows before and people think I'm so weird, but like I like to make my thumbnails before I film the video, especially if it's like a themed reading vlog. And so I like having like that visualization. It really keeps me motivated when I'm like trying to make creative content. And I'm like, this is what the final product is going to look like. You have to make it happen. So I don't know. That's something that really motivates me when I'm trying to be creative.
Have we talked about this before? Because I do that too. I feel like we talked about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's kind of like a vision board almost.
Right, yeah.
Oh. I never thought of doing that. I get a lot of ideas from other booktubers. Like I'll watch their video and maybe think of something they're doing, or I just copy what they're doing, but I give them credits. I'm like, this is such a cool idea. They've only done it. So before like everyone else gets to it. Always credit when you're taking ideas from people. This is a fun question.
I had this video idea about like I wanted to do like this dark academia idea, similar to Riley when she was talking about it. Because like dark academia was getting so huge, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this dark academia reading vlog. It's gonna be so great. And then I was like, I really don't want to read these books. Like, I don't want to do this. And so I wanted to do like this whole like dark academia transformation. Like I was going to like redecorate my like office space, and I was going to do like this whole aesthetic transformation reading vlog thing. And I was like, man, I cannot make this happen, but I really want to see somebody make this content. And I saw a lot of people make videos like that. And so it just like, it filled this spot in my heart that wanted to make that video, but couldn't make it happen. So like, yeah, I do have that happen to me a lot where I'm like, this video idea would be so great, but I just can't make it happen for myself.
Yeah, it's funny that Kayla asked this because I had actually had in my like video ideas that I wanted to do like an Enneagram or a Myers-Briggs type of reading vlog, but I just never like wanted, like it seemed like so much effort. I was like, can someone else just do this? And then when she put up hers, I was like, thank God.
This is a good question too, because I feel like new people are popping up everywhere. Thoughts?
I think Booktube is so different than other communities because I feel like it's very personality driven who you watch at some level. Because it comes to a point where you find like what niche you like romance, fantasy, thriller, mystery, whatever. And then you narrow it down further by like who you like the most. So I feel like because I'll watch the same video by 12 people, and it's because I like all those people, not because I really care that they're all talking about the same book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think Booktube is oversaturated. I mean, it's still like in the grand scheme of YouTube, very small.
Very, very small.
This kind of goes off of that. Do you think originality is important, or can you get away with doing the classic Booktube videos like wrap-ups, hauls, TBRs?
I'm doing it.
I think that goes back to the point, like, why are you on Booktube? I feel like people join Booktube and there's no, like, what is your purpose here? Like, you know, what do you want to accomplish? Like, what are your aims and your goals? Because I think that, like, when you figure that out, this is what, you know, this is this is kind of how you answer those questions. Because for me personally, I don't think I can answer this question, because I think it comes down to an individual. Like, some people can do classic booktube videos and it's fire. I mean, it's absolute fire. And then I could see someone else do it. I'm like, not so much. I prefer your unique content, So I don't know. I think when you find what you love, what you like, what your purpose is, the viewers will come regardless. That's just me, though.
I do think anybody can get away with doing classic or originals, whatever you want to make your channel. To be. Whatever like you usually post. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess I get kind of, I don't get frustrated, but I think that, with sometimes with discussions around this, I think people think that there's a preset formula to being a booktube. Like, I saw a Booktuber. I saw someone ask earlier, what is the first video that I should shoot as a booktuber? Whatever the heck you want. Like, do what you like. And I hope that eventually more people kind of get that. Like, you don't have to do what the next booktuber is doing. Do what you want to do, because at the end of the day, passion is for me, I think passion is most important. I'm not going to watch you if you're not passionate about what you're doing, because it shows. Regardless of whether you think it does or not, whether you're trying to fake the funk or fake it till you make it, people can see past that facade, and they're going to know whether you're enjoying what you're doing or what you're not doing. So you need to do what you're passionate about, whether that's the same ideas as some people that you're giving credit to, whether it's, something completely off the wall. Like, do what works for you, do what makes you happy, because you have to sleep with you at the end of the night. You're not hopping in my bed. You're not hopping in Mina's bed. You're not, well, I can't speak for y'all. I don't know who's in y'all's bed. But, you're not hopping in my bed. So don't do what you think is going to please me, because you have to stay with yourself at night, not me. So I think a lot of people get lost in that I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to do this to become a booktuber. I must do this. I must follow this person. And that's why Booktube has a high turnover rate. Because people are so busy trying to chase that high, and then they realize this is not what I want to do. I'm not passionate about this. I don't like my content. So they end up just giving it up, or they don't, they're not posting as much as they maybe want to post, because every time they sit down to film a video, they're like, oh God, I have to sit down and film a video today. Like, man, this is not a 9 to 5. Nobody's paying you the money for this to be a 9 to 5. You shouldn't be sitting down in front of the camera like, I can't believe I have to sit in front of a camera today. I really should have just called out. I really just don't want to do this. Like, nobody's paying you to do this. You know what I'm saying? Not enough to where it's like, you should, even if you are getting paid that amount, and let's say this is your 9 to 5, I still feel like you should do what makes you happy. Because I sure enough don't get up working my 9 to 5 every day and like, oh my God, I have to go to work, or else I wouldn't be there. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3.
And I do find it puts me off if I see a booktuber constantly complaining, oh, I have to film. Oh, I have to edit now. Oh, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, why do I want to watch what you're making if I know you hate it so much when you do it? And I don't think a lot of us do that, but I have noticed some people do that. Yeah. I mean, it's fine to hate editing. I mean, I know editing's not fun, but when you're constantly being like, oh, I have to sit down and film a video today, I really don't want to do it. And
don't do it.
Talk about, right?
Don't do it.
I think this is a good question. Because a lot of people sometimes feel isolated, especially when they're smaller, like, oh, how do I make friends? People are being cliquey. Do you think there are cliques? How do you make friends?
They're cliques. It's life.
Right.
Like,
we're going to find people you like. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the real world. Like, you're going to find people that you click with. I think my biggest thing is, watch other people's content and comment. It may be easier. I'm not going to lie to you. And like I said, I'm the smaller out of the 5 of us, but sometimes, with larger channels, it can be kind of hard to sift through the comments, because there can be so many comments that, like, it can be kind of overwhelming I know it's overwhelming for me to some degree sometimes. But I think that when you start just commenting and you're consistently watching, and, that's how I built friendships with people. Liv, actually, I don't know how that happened. I'm trying to think of how we met, and I don't know, to be honest with you.
It was just
fate. It was fate. Yeah, it was just fate. Yeah.
No, I think I was obsessive in your comments, but scary.
But I think commenting on people's videos is a good way to kind of get to know people. I mean, most people on Booktube are really friendly people, regardless of whether they have their set group of friends or not. Like, most people are friendly.
Yeah, I feel like most of my Booktube friends that I've made in the past couple years happened in the Instagram DMs, like just responding to stories.
Yeah.
And like that's how I've been talking to people, because I kind of have a hard time keeping up with my comments. But Instagram, I'm all over it. If you send me a message on there, I'm going to see it.
Yeah, for me personally, I didn't really make any friends in like the book community until I made Book Twitter, which is like an interesting space. But I definitely feel like it could be easier to interact with someone on a more personal level on like Instagram or Twitter rather than just in the comment section. I don't know. There's something about the comment section for me personally that doesn't make it like super easy to form any kind of bond with someone. So I like it when people interact with me on Twitter or Instagram.
A newer one that's come up is reading sprints. I've made 3 or 4 friends already that I have now that I didn't know before, just by going to theirs, and now I'm infiltrating them, and it's great. Like you do
right.
That's funny. Sorry. I do think though, like that reading sprints have made Booktube more social on the Booktube platform.
Yeah.
Like what Riley said, like I've made a lot of my friends through Instagram, and like Lisa and Lacey are my 2 best friends here, and they didn't even have a Booktube channel when we became friends. They joined after we were already friends. So I made a lot of my friends through talking on Instagram, but reading sprints have definitely, and like inviting people to live shows, like talking to each other.
Yeah, I'm curious how you guys feel about all of the live reading sprints, because I personally love them. Like, I just love how like you can be sitting there reading at home, like in your pajamas, and still hanging out with your friends. Like, oh, it's the best.
I'm obsessed fully. I have so many reminders set like every day for reading sprints.
I don't know how people do it for like 4 hours, but I could never just sit on a live show for 4 hours. Actually, you do some pretty long ones. But...
Listen, I fell asleep on a live show. Okay, how about that? I did a New Year's Eve live show. It was 8 hours long. I woke up, I was snoring, and people were like, "Oh my God, is she snoring?" So that was a real thing that happened. Yeah.
Anna has been trying to get us to respond to this comment about what do you think of Passionflix and romance book adaptations in general? What do you guys think?
I've ever watched Passionflix.
I've never watched Passionflix.
I've watched all of them, and they're terrible. But I eat them up. Like, they're so bad. But I'm like, I'm desperate for that content.
I really wish that there were more adaptations of romance books. Like, I want romances and like rom-coms to really make a resurgence in the movie industry. I feel like it's sorely lacking. But I have not watched any Passionflix project because all of the trailers look horrendous.
They do.
Yeah, no, they're bad. They're bad.
I don't know, because Beverly Jenkins Forbidden was supposed to get adapted with the Ripped Bodice, but that was like 2 years ago that was announced, so I don't know if that's happening. I'm hoping Bridgerton is gonna like help romance on the big screen. But this is where did it go? Where did it go? They all moved too fast. This one, I agree with this.
Yeah.
I would love more on the big screen. There was one other one I thought I saw.
Someone asked a question earlier. We never got around to it. About whether Booktube itself is Western centric.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting question. I'm not going to start it.
Well, like, I think, was it the comment that's like, oh, with the Asian readathon, everyone was reading Asian American authors?
Yes.
Which is true.
Yes.
I do think we are very Western focused and we don't read. I mean, I myself don't even seek it out either, but like translated works. I know a lot of people have had that as a goal for their channels, but yeah. But I don't think it's something, I mean, I don't know. Anybody can talk about this. I don't know how to even start this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it. I think that we are very Western centric. And I wonder, I mean, I don't know I don't know if it stems from partly in publishing. I don't know if because Western people in general are very Western centric. I mean, not just in reading, but in a lot of awareness of what's happening outside of our sphere of the world. I do think it's something that we need to get better about. I think that, and I'm including myself in that, like one of my goals this year was to read more translated works. And some things have kind of like, and maybe sometimes too, not always, it's not always translated, but stepping out of people who have written stuff from the United States and in Europe, like kind of branching out from those areas. And some situations have forced me to do that. Like just when y'all hosted the historical romance readathon, I had participated in like one of my goals, it was a silent goal. I actually started participating like at the last minute, was to read historical romances that featured 2 Black characters. And that was a doozy, and not focusing solely on Beverly Jenkins, because that's a go-to. So I mean, when I said I had to do some digging, I mean, I did some digging and found like, I want to say it's called the West African Writing Alliance, but I'm like 99.9% sure that that's completely wrong. But there were some historical romances from that group that existed for the sole purpose of the fact that they wanted to tell stories about 2 Black people in love pre-colonization. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes we need to have conversations about like effort. And when I say effort, I mean, how much do we as Booktube kind of look for books on our own as opposed to waiting for someone else to say that they have read it and then we go check it out. And I think that's an interesting balance, because a lot of us watch Booktube for recommendations. You know, we go to see like, oh, you know, I know that Jess is coming out with a recommendation at least once a week, so I know I'm going to find some stuff off of there, you know. But how much time do we take ourselves and look for stuff? Is it because it's just ease of, you know, or is it just convenient to watch a Booktube video and get those recommendations? Do we not want to look for ourselves? Because I'm not going to lie, I feel like looking sometimes it is a little bit more difficult, especially if you are geared towards certain genres. I mean, it's out there, but you have to look for it sometimes. So. Yeah.
That is a hard balance though, because I watch Booktube all the time and I get recommendations from Booktube. That's the books people are already talking about because they talked about it in their video. So
yeah.
This person's asked us a couple times, I think, or I've seen this comment come up. How do you handle disappointment with lack of growth, especially if you've been on Booktube for a long time? How do you promote channel growth? Do you get disappointed if you don't grow as fast as you want to? Do you want to grow fast? Riley's done. So.
Yeah, I'm tapped out. I'm like, nope.
I think I was for a period of time. I think because I always tell people, I think most people know by now, I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse at this point. I've been here since 2014, you know? So it took, which low-key still makes me upset, but it is what it is at this point, that it took last year's events to bring me to where I am right now, although I had been on here, you know, 6 years prior to last summer. It is, and I think it's human nature. It is disappointing. It can be very, very disappointing, but once again, I'm going to say it for a third time, like, you know, what do you want? What do you want out of the experience? Because all of us can't all of us are not going to get 300,000K. All of us don't want to. Like Riley said, I'm done. This is where I'm at. I'm comfortable. I'm good right here. But it can be defeating, but I think sometimes you kind of have to find the good in where you are, because there's benefits to both. There's benefits in being what we would so-called consider a small channel, and benefits to being a larger channel. I think that if we were more transparent about what comes with being a larger channel, I think it would put some things into perspective. I think people aspire to be a larger channel and then don't realize what comes with that territory, because there are some not so good things that do come with being a larger channel, things that are kind of out of your control. I mean, boundary settings, people doing some things that are just, you're kind of like, oh my gosh. So find your silver lining if you can. That's easier said than done. I don't expect anybody to be like, okay, yes, I'm happy where I'm at. It's not going to happen overnight, but find the silver lining in it, I think.
So the first part of the question is like, how do you guys promote channel growth? I would recommend just trying out maybe different content, different kind of ideas that you might have. Just try them out, see what sticks. Because I know that sometimes a video of mine will pop off that I would never expect. Like, I made a video about the Ice Planet Barbarian series, and that was one of my first videos to hit like 1,000 views at the time. And I had no idea that anybody would watch that or like care about it. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna read this.
People love their aliens
romance. I was like, I'm gonna read this little alien romance. Who's gonna watch this video? Probably nobody, but it'd be fun for me. But it actually did end up like promoting me at that point in time, and I gained like a lot of subscribers in that short period of time just because of that video. So I would say just try something out, maybe something new, something different from your usual that might help you, gain some new people in your audience. I will also recommend like cross promoting on different platforms. So like if you have Bookstagram, like tell your followers on Bookstagram, oh, I posted a new video today. Same on like Twitter or whatever. I would say that that's like a good way to try and promote a video, make it get a little bit bigger. And I would say like handling disappointment about growth. I think that it's important to try and find like happiness in different things. So for me, if I feel like, oh, this video is not getting that many views, boohoo. Sometimes I feel a little bit sad about that, but I try to refocus and just look at the comments like, oh, I'm getting a lot of engagement in the comments section, or there's all these nice comments. People enjoyed this. And I think that it can be better to try and like, I don't know, refocus your intentions on what makes a successful video rather than just the numbers. And like, if the numbers are growing, and maybe looking at the engagement, did people like it? The people who commented, what did they say about it? And I think that can like help you maybe to look at some of the positives rather than negatives. But it is really frustrating, and I do feel you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I saw someone say readathons, and I agree with this as well. Like participating in things will help you get noticed. Like if you do like the reading rush, everyone was doing it. And if people are interested in it, they'll type in reading rush and then all the videos pop up in the search bar. So you will get engagement from like searches of readathons that are happening or interacting with people who are doing it. But don't like self-promote in comments, because I've gotten that before where it's like, hey, I just did this video. Come check me out. That'll put people off of coming and checking out.
I had a guy, until I blocked him recently, who would send me a link every time he uploaded a new video. Every single time.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad that usually like the YouTube spam filter just catches all that. But there's some that slip through. They're tricky.
Mm-hmm. What do you see this?
I mean, that's my personal, that's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
I would rather people were to watch the videos I put out versus have 100K but have like 2,000 views video.
I think that with the YouTube algorithm also, like you can have a small amount of subscribers, but if you get like a good amount of views on a video, YouTube is going to push that. Whereas like if you grow a lot of subscribers, I don't really know that YouTube is going to push your videos if they're not getting the views.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah. Views, in my opinion, are always better than the actual sub count, which is why sometimes you see low sub count but high viewership, because the algorithm is preferring that, meaning that they see that more people are watching, so they're more inclined to push. Whereas you could have somebody with, because I've seen people on BookTube, you know, who can have 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers, and they have a lower view count than someone who has 5,000, 6,000 subscribers. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know about you guys, but I normally just don't answer them.
I don't answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
I don't know
answer.
if I'm being mean, but like,
Yeah.
you
I
don't
don't answer.
or yeah.
And lately I've been getting sent a lot of the like Bookstagram, what is it? Like
Follow trains of
the follow
following.
train.
Oh gosh, I hate those.
I've gotten like 10 just today. Like, can we stop?
I just delete.
What was it one? Coconut pigeons.
I don't.
No.
I feel like I don't even want to read popular books. Like if I see a book that's super popular, I'm so put off from reading it.
It takes me longer to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I relate to this so much because my wrap-ups were getting so long and I wanted filming them. So I split them up into 2 and now they're so much better. But
yeah, I quit wrap-ups like years ago. I'm never going back. Never. It's not happening.
I like filming wrap-ups. They're probably my favorite video to film. I know everybody universally hates them. Mina's like, no. I love them. I love them because I like talking, and it's the perfect opportunity for me to talk and talk and talk. So I love wrap-ups. I don't like editing it. Now that's a beast of an edit project, but I love filming them.
It's hard to like remember all the books that you read that month and like trying to figure out what you should say, how long you should spend talking about each book. It's just like, it's too much. I don't love it personally, but they are popular.
That's a good question. And I'm embarrassed.
I ignore them.
So do I.
Same. I feel bad, but like, I don't.
I just tell people no. I say no.
You type NO and just press send?
No, I mean, if somebody is like, oh, I'm interested in you reviewing my book or like whatever, I'll just be like, no, I'm not accepting review requests at the moment. Sorry. Wishing you and your book success. And that's like my standard answer because I don't think that you should feel pressured to read people's stuff. I think you should have your own boundaries, especially like as an influencer or whatever. If you don't want to do something, you shouldn't feel pressured to do it. So
I don't have the time. I would love to do what Bethany does, but honestly, y'all, like I have a full email list. I have a full email list for work, like my actual 9 to 5. So managing that and making sure that I'm answering emails and that, like, I literally do not have the capacity to be in, like, I have 80 something emails unread in my Booktube affiliated email right now. Like, and some of them I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have to keep it moving because I just can't do it. I can't do it. I used to send out a little note like that, and then I started getting too many requests in a day, and I was like, this is just not going to work. So ignore. And then I feel bad when they send a follow-up. Ashley, just checking to see if you're still interested. Like, if I haven't answered you in 2 weeks.
And then I still delete that one too. Well, especially if they're like, this is my sci-fi that I think you like. And I'm like, you don't even watch my channel. There's no way you think I'd read a sci-fi book. Like, it's annoying when they're not even close to my reading taste. Oh, that was not what I meant. This one's asked a couple times. I've noticed a lot of Booktube creators trying to go lifestyle, and it makes people mad.
Yeah.
It does. But I think if you start off doing books and lifestyle, then the people who subscribe to you will have that expectation.
I agree.
I think sometimes when you create a base, they're used to seeing certain things from you. And then when you switch it up on them, sometimes it's like, wait, hold on, this is not why I subscribe to your channel. So if you're just starting, go with what you want to start with. I think sometimes it's harder to kind of, I would love to do like a, just straight comics, but there's no way that would work right now. Like that's not going to fly with my viewers. So start now. Yeah.
A lot of people have started doing, like Chloe, Books with Chloe. She started a journal channel specifically for her journaling. And some people start like vlog channels. So either start it now and so your viewers know what you're getting into. I like that.
And there's me. I just throw it all in one and I'm like, get
right. Then you expect that. So like, enjoy all the content in one. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. Okay, we are nearing the end. I want to keep this around 2 hours. Is there anything anybody wants to say before we leave?
There's this one question, and it was like, how do you take a vacation from YouTube, and how does your audience respond to it? Taking a vacation from YouTube is very hit or miss. I took a little bit of a vacation, and I feel like the YouTube algorithm has like completely forgotten about me now because I took that vacation. Because YouTube really likes when channels are consistent, and the less consistent you are, sometimes the YouTube algorithm will stop recommending your stuff like to your subscribers and everything. So it can be hard from like a algorithm perspective. But I think that if your audience like supports you as an individual, then they would accept and like respect your boundaries if you need to take a break for whatever reason. So you gotta weigh the benefits for you.
Riley, I know you do this, don't you? You have like videos prepared.
Yeah, I take so many breaks from YouTube and nobody ever knows because I'm still posting videos. They're scheduled, but I'm not here.
Anything else?
Let's see, one last question. I don't know.
Does anybody have one last question? We did talk about Booktube friend groups. I don't know if there's anything else to
I don't know if it's a different like
add on to that. Oh, this is a good one to end on. A good YouTuber to watch.
One.
However many you want.
I'll go first.
Recently I've really been loving Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. I really love her and her energy. So if you really like vlogs, I would highly recommend her.
I saw someone in the chat earlier asking about any booktubers who talk about audiobooks or like audiobook production, and Charles from Books on Stereo, he like almost only listens to audiobooks, and recently he's been doing interviews with audiobook narrators that are super interesting.
I'm going to agree with Aaron. I'm going to say Bree from The Lockbooktician reads a lot of mystery, thriller, focuses a lot on Black lit. I saw Chloe from this one verse. Yeah, does a lot of SFF. I love Izzy from Happy for Now. Man, I love Olivia's Catastrophe. If y'all have never watched Olivia's Catastrophe, she has some really, really good series going on right now. One where she reads her favorite series backwards. So she'll start at like she just reread Percy Jackson and the Olympians and started at book 5 and then made her way back to book 1, which I thought was pretty cool. So she had already read it, but reading it backwards, she got to see exactly how things ended and then was able to kind of analyze how they all began. I mean, it was pretty neat. I was like, I've never seen anything like that done before. So I really, really like her channel as well.
Going with my drink how many times I said the word passion or passionate today in this live stream. But Katie from Katie Colson, if you want to just be excited about books in general, she's there all the time. She does predominantly audiobooks. And then two other people I've been following because I am friends with Mel from Mel Reads, but I've started watching Jaleesa from Bounded and Bookmarked. I have it on here. And then Christine from Any Endings. And I go to them for reading sprints. If you need reading sprints, people, they are your people. They will keep you motivated until 4 a.m. I speak from experience.
I did a live show on Friday with a ton of romance people. But I see romance people in here. So Izzy is great to follow, like Ashley said. Naima.
Yes, Naima is a great channel.
Tori, should follow her. Meg from Buy the Book also. She only has like 300 subscribers, and I could have sworn she had more than that. She's British, and she reads romance, and I love following her channel. It's funny because she'll comment on like the British audiobooks for historical romances and how they're like, she's like, it was such a fake British accent. I was like, it sounded real to me. But I wouldn't know. So that was really funny. Yeah. But thank you everybody for joining.
Yes.
I'm glad we got to end on some recommendations of great booktubers. Everybody who is here today is linked down below, so make sure you go give them a follow, check out their content. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for the questions in the comments. Thank you guys for your answers. Anything else you guys want to add?
No.
That would be awkward. How do you end it? Okay, we're done. Bye.
Bye.